Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And I have a rock star on today, Mr. Jim Packard. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And we are back. Let me bring Jim on. Jim, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
It's great to have you here, man. You are you're a legend in my mind.
Thank you.
So Jim, I think we met years ago, maybe in Pittsburgh at what's that gal's name? Linda
Thomas.
Yes.
She
has a hyphenated name though. Isn't it like Baltism something Thomas? I don't know, but yes. Yeah. I believe I met you and your sons over there. I'm pretty sure years ago though. So, and I think we've been friends on Facebook for many years too. And I'm honored to finally get you on the show, man. So I started this about 3 years ago, and it was literally to help people get unstuck in life. And because I truly believe people get stuck and don't know how to get through it. There's Pamela Aubrey. She is a wonderful, wonderful person. Thanks for being here, Pam. So Jim, why don't we start with where you were born and raised?
Sure. I'd probably be remiss if I didn't say that you ever feel that life's a tuxedo and you're a pair of brown shoes? Because I've seen some of the other people you've interviewed. So I'm from a little town in Maine called Augusta.
Okay.
And you'll hear my accent throughout this interview because my business partner now always makes fun of me when I say I have an idea to share with people, and they go, "Where are you from?" Well, I'm from Augusta, Maine. So
wow.
Went to the same high school my mom and grandfather went to, actually.
Oh, wow. Augusta, Maine. So that's like, that's almost like in Canada, eh?
You can actually be in Portland, Maine, and you're closer to New York City than you are Northern Maine.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we have some people on here. Hey, share this out, by the way. Anybody watching, share this out. But so you grew up in Augusta, Maine, and was it a real small town or it's a small city?
It's a small city because Augusta is the capital of Maine.
Oh, see. If my buddy Glenn Morshower were on here with us, he would know that. I'm not that smart.
18,000 people. That's the size of the town.
18,000?
Yeah.
And it's the capital?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's insane. Okay, so you grew up in Augusta, Maine. And what was it like growing up there? I'm from a small town. I think it actually is bigger than 18,000 though, and it's not the capital.
Well, let's put it this way. I once went to in my junior year of high school, I went to the blackboard, and Miss Gibbs wanted me to dissect the sentence. And of course I was having a problem with that. And she looked at me and she says, "Well, your mother had no problem with those." I had the same teacher my mother did. That tell you something about? Yeah.
Wow.
True story.
That's insane. Wow. So did you experience as a child, did you see, were there hard times, were there hard times at all growing up? Did you see your parents go through struggles financially or anything like that at all?
Yeah, my parents went through, interesting enough, I I lived in a nice area of town, so I was exposed to a lot of my friends' dads own businesses, and I noticed at an early age that my friends had convertibles or their parents had convertibles and they belonged to the country club, and we didn't. All right. So early on, I knew that there was better things out there in life.
Yeah. And you knew you wanted that?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you?
Oh, absolutely. My goal was to own my own business like my friends did and belong to the country club so I could go to the country club beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went to school, high school there. Is that where you graduated?
Yeah. Actually, when I was in the 5th grade, we moved to Florida, and my dad got into the insurance business, and
Wow.
I actually ended up going to 5 different high schools before I graduated.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was that was a little unsettling, but at the same time, it was a character builder for sure.
How did you fit in Florida with that Maine accent?
Yeah, that's funny. It was during the 60s when we were down there.
Wow.
And they're still fighting the war down there.
Yeah, right.
Really, yeah. I mean, it was interesting growing up in Florida as a northerner and seeing, one day we got up and there were flyers all over the lawns of different houses with "Be a Man, Join the Klan." There was a cross burned on somebody's yard once.
Oh
that stuff that you never Augusta, Maine and go to Orlando, Florida. That was eye-opening. And
Wow.
eventually we did move back to Maine, and I graduated from the same high school my mom did. So
Did you really? Wow. So your dad got into insurance. What was he doing prior to getting into insurance?
he was an electrician.
Okay.
My grandfather was an electrician. My uncles, my cousins, everybody in our family were electricians. And I can't even make an extension cord. That wasn't for me. These hands don't touch anything but a driver and 3-wood.
Oh, that's hilarious. So your dad, when you say he got into insurance, he got into insurance sales?
Yeah, and he was very good at it. He was the youngest person to get promoted at his particular company. But back in those days, as they gave you another territory to work, you had to live in that territory. So
Wow.
that's why I had to move so many times and went to so many different schools. It's because you had to live in the territory that my dad was managing. And
Wow.
it was almost like a blur, my 5th grade year through my sophomore year of school. I don't hardly remember anybody. I can't even tell you one teacher's name. So it was.
Did you make friends in Florida?
Yeah, I was always the entrepreneur. I was always a kid. Even growing up in the 5th grade, there was a contest selling greeting cards, and the 4th and 5th graders. And I remember they had us go in the auditorium, and you could look at all the gifts that you could win. And I saw the gift that I wanted to win, and I went after it. And I came in first place, and I got the gift. Now,
Wow.
it was a white pearl handle knife. Can you imagine a school giving out a knife in today's world?
No.
But I won the knife. I took it on the bus with me on the way home, managed to cut and slice my finger right through here. The bus driver took my knife, and I don't think I ever saw that knife again. So, but I learned early on that I was good at sales. So,
Oh my gosh. Wow.
when we moved to Florida, Ken, I became a paper boy.
Yep.
And like a lot of young people, in fact, if you ever want to hire somebody, hire a paper boy because they have all the attributes of of a successful business person.
Amen.
There was a contest where the first 3 people got to go to the World's Fair in Seattle, and
Wow.
number 4 through 60 got to go on a train, go to Washington, D.C. and all the sites there, and then go up to New York and see a Yankees game. And during that time period, I was a gigantic Yankee fan. And all I wanted to do was place in the top 60, or 4 through 60, so that I could go to New York and watch the Yankees.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I finished first. All right, which means I won the trip to the World's Fair. So I traded with the guy who was number 4. I mean, the paperwork we had to go through to give up number one to be number four. But I went and I saw the Yankees and Mantle and Maris each had a home run. I mean, it was just perfect. So,
Wow.
and I think that was the first time I really visualized a goal that I really wanted and desired and went after it. So, I had fun during those years because I was working. So,
yeah. So you end up back in Maine, you graduate high school. Did you go to college?
Yeah, that was interesting. My parents didn't have the means to pay for college, so I didn't have that advantage. And quite frankly, I was a BC student, so I mean, I really didn't have the grades to get a scholarship. And so all my buddies that I hung around went off to the University of Maine, and I had to stay back in Augusta. And they just started a branch of the University of Maine called the University of Maine at Augusta. And I stayed back and I went to school there, which was, I worked days and I went to school nights. And that was probably the toughest time period in my entire life when I look back at it, because again, I was taking classes at the high school that I had just graduated from. Wow. All my friends had gone up to the University of Maine in Orono, and I was stuck behind. And quite frankly, I was really bitter. I was mad at myself and mad at my parents. And as a result, my GPA reflected that the first year. You know how that goes. So,
what year did you graduate high school?
66.
Oh, okay. What about, I mean, that's right there in the middle of the Vietnam deal, right?
Yeah. I went to school, so I avoided the draft, and then they came out with the draft lottery, and I was number 330. So I never got called up. I expected to go, but never got called up.
Wow.
It was interesting. In my first year of college, I think I had a 1.9 and then a 1.3. And I remember them calling me in saying that if things didn't change, then, I was going to the war, right?
Yeah.
And I met a guy named John Benoit, who was the counselor at the University of Maine, Augusta, kind of put me under his wings. And for the first time ever, he made me accountable to myself. And he knew my goal was to get up to the University of Maine, Orono with my buddies.
Yeah.
And he said, if you get Dean's List, I will get you there. And so I studied my butt off. I made Dean's List. I was able to transfer up to the University of Maine.
Wow.
And so that's probably the first time in my life that I really wanted something so bad, and could visualize it, and had a mentor that counseled me weekly. So,
wow.
He was one of those 5 people in my life that I look at going, wow, he turned me around.
Yeah. So you graduated from college?
Yeah, I actually
with honors.
Yeah, I was on the Dean's List, and
wow.
It was interesting when I moved to Orono. I mean, I still didn't have a place to stay.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. I lived in a boarding house in Bangor, Maine, with 3 other guys, or 3 other, they rented rooms from this lady, and I worked at McDonald's, and that's how I got my money, and eventually I lived in a fraternity, and eventually lived in the dorm, and all that stuff. But I graduated from the University of Maine, Orono. In fact, Stephen King was in my class, which was kind of interesting story.
Really?
Yeah. He was in my class. And in fact, even after we graduated and grew our families, my son used to play basketball against his son. So I'd see him in the summertime. But
so you know him? Well,
I could certainly pick him out of a crowd. I don't know if he could pick me out of a crowd at this point.
Yeah.
But the most interesting guy I met at the University of Maine, my best friend, or one of my best friends at the University of Maine, his best friend in high school was a kid named Jay Leno. So Jay spent about 1 weekend every month in our room, in our dormitory, with myself and my buddy. So that was interesting, kind of growing up with Jay. So, and we're still friends today. So
you and Jay Leno are friends.
Yeah.
Do you hang out in his garage?
No, I haven't hung. I can tell you a quick story about Jay if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Yeah. I love Jay.
He went on. I mean, he was always funny in college.
Yeah.
and he would come up for the weekend, but he'd have to leave sometime early Sunday to go to the Catskill because he was, performing or doing his, his gig. And after we graduated, we kind of separated. You lose touch with people. And all of a sudden, I see him on Laverne and Shirley. He was Shirley's boyfriend in a few of the episodes.
Oh, wow.
And then, because I started my business, and we were in Las Vegas once, and I noticed that he was headlining at Caesar's Palace. So I called the hotel to talk to Jay, thinking I could get right in. And of course, the switchboard operator would not allow you to, just to talk to him.
Right.
So I said, I left him a message with you, and I said, and I found out that her father, the switchboard operator's father, was from Maine. So we had that connection. And she said, I can get a message to Jay. And I said, well, just tell him it's Jim Packard from the University of Maine. And I'm going to be at a buddy of mine's house at a party later tonight. And this is the phone number of my buddy's house. Maybe he could give me a call there. So we're at this party, and all of a sudden, and we're out back, and my buddy's having a band's playing, and the music stops and it says, I'm not sure if this is a joke or not, but is there a Jim Packard here? Because there's a Jay Leno on the phone for him. And I got on the phone with Jay, and he said, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great. I said, I'm in Vegas. I'd love to see your act. And he said, well, come on over and watch our act. And I said, Jay, I can't get tickets. You're sold out. And he says, I'll just leave your name. And I said, well, I'm with a couple of buddies. And he said, how many tickets do you need? And I go, 3. And he says, well, come on over, and I'll leave tickets with the maitre d'. So this is the funny part of the story. We go to the show. It's a midnight show, and we get there around, 11:30. And I walk up to and there's a line, like waiting to get into the see him. That's about, 100 yards long. And I go up to the front desk there, and I said, there's supposed to be some tickets here for me. Jay left them for me. And the usher's looking around. He says, I'm sorry, we don't see any tickets here at all for you. And by this time, the people that are in line are looking at me and going, nice try, sir. Nice try, Buster. Getting them back of the line,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the head maitre d' comes up and says, is there a problem here? And the usher says, yeah, we have another joker that claims Mr. Leno left him some tickets. and he looks at me and he says, are you Mr. Packard? And I go, yes. And he looks at the usher and says, this is Mr. Leno's personal guest. Please escort him backstage. So we went backstage, my buddies and I. And we're sitting there in his green room and talking to him. And he said, he says, what's his name? The blues guy. That's B.B. King. Okay. Was opening for him. And Jay looks at me and said, have you ever met B.B. King? And I go, Jay, no, you don't meet. No, yeah, of course.
We're hanging out all the time.
So he brought him over. I met him. And and I started telling Jay some jokes, thinking that maybe I could help him because he had already heard of all of them. It's amazing. Yeah. What was interesting is he never cashed any of his checks from from Vegas. And he was getting paid. Gosh, I probably shouldn't say this, but back in the early 70s, mid 70s, he was getting paid like $30,000 a performance, and he was doing 2 a night and doing over 300 shows a year. He was the hardest working comedian in Vegas. But we still remain friends. I happened to see him, and he was here at Talking Sticks down in Phoenix a couple years ago, and we saw each other again. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So you've got it. Like, do you have his cell phone number?
Yeah, actually, he's called me and left a message, and I kept it on my cell phone. But, So
Jay Leno called you and left you a message. That's
awesome. Because I was inviting him over to the house for dinner because I figured that he was he's out enough. So, but when we were in Vegas, I met his wife, Mavis, and interesting guy, and really money has not changed him.
He seems like just a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
A genuinely good guy.
He is.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Wow. You're the first person I met that's friends with Jay Leno. I love Jay.
Yeah.
So in fact, I think since he left the Tonight Show, it's never been the same. It's not even close.
I asked him who his best friends were in Hollywood, and he said to me, I should say this stuff, but he said, well, it used to be David Letterman. All right.
Yeah.
And of course, they went for the same job. But he was actually, his best friend was Robin Williams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that had to be heartbreaking for him then. Jeez. Wow. So you graduate from college.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to graduate and get a job.
What did you do? So you get, because you said, here you are your whole life as a kid, you got the entrepreneurial bug, but here you are in college, I'll say getting programmed. So, but you're in college and you're going, now I need to get out and get a job, work for 30 years and retire. And
it's an interesting story. I went to work for a company out of Hartford, Connecticut called G. Fox and Company. This was a gigantic retail store. 4,800 people worked there. They had 4 or 5 branches. I couldn't wait to go to work. I had to wear a suit to even work there, right? Yeah. And I didn't even own a suit. I had to go to Sears to charge a suit on my mother's credit card so that I could wear my suit, so that I could go to work, and because they'd give you credit, but only 30 days later. Yeah. So I was wearing one suit with 2 pair of pants for 30 days, waiting so I could get my. And I went to work for this large retail store, which I loved. Right? Yeah. And it was interesting. They had a contest where the department that had the highest percentage over quota won a trip to Bermuda. And I mean, I won that trip. I mean, I had the highest percentage of quota. And when I got back from that trip, there was a letter in the mail, and it said, "Dear Mr. Packard, your name has come to our attention as the type of person that possesses the skills and abilities that we're looking for. We'd love to interview you and your lovely wife. Could you meet us at the Holiday Inn downtown Hartford at 7:00? And I'm going, yeah, somebody finally found out that I'm good, and they saw that I won the contest, and I get to that meeting and find out it's a network marketing meeting.
Oh, those sneaky.
Yes. And I bought the dream.
You did?
Yes, I did. I signed up for $3,200 in 1972.
What? Whoa, that's like 50 grand today.
Wait, well, I was only making $7,000 a year at the store. Smokes. So I'm wondering, how did the bank even give me the loan? But I wasn't home.
What company was it?
It was an old company that was owned by Jim Rohn and Bill Bailey called Bestline. Wow. And I bought $3,200 worth of concentrated soap in plastic containers. And I wasn't home the day the tractor trailer pulled up in front of our little apartment. My wife was. And we're still married, by the way, for 50 years now. But I later found out, Ken, that they sent that form letter out to 1,000 people. And I was the only person to respond.
Oh, my gosh.
But it has affected thousands of lives as a result.
Do you know Kyle Wilson?
I know the name.
He owned Jim Rohn International.
Okay.
He was Jim's business partner for 18 years. He's a buddy of mine. He's been on the show.
Yeah.
So you bought $3,200 worth of soap.
Yep.
In 1972.
Yep. And wow. I joined the company and found out that I was good at sponsoring people. I got my money back really quickly.
So you're asking, so when you say you sponsored people, you're asking people for $3,200?
Yeah.
Holy mother of everything holy.
Yeah.
In 1972.
Yeah. When I was only making $7,016 at G. Fox and Company.
Jim, how in the world did you get? I mean, that's a lot of money in 1972.
How does the bank even give you the loan to do it is beyond me.
But you were getting people to go to the bank and get a loan for $3,200?
Yeah, until they shut down the company. I mean, I didn't know they get shut down for front end loading, and it's I look back now and I go, I guess I just acted through fear. Action conquers fear. But it's for the first time in my life, I was introduced to positive thinking and what you can believe you can achieve. And if you think you can, you think you can't, you're right either way. And I also knew working at the retail store that, that was never going to give me the goals that I wanted to achieve. And for the first time in my life, I read a book. I read Think and Grow Rich was, I think, the first book I ever wrote. And I wrote down all the goals that I wanted to accomplish. In fact, 42 of them. And they're on my back wall. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, they're right there. It's right here. They're right underneath the clock. That's my original, original set of goals. Yeah, original set of goals. And
wow.
So that's how I got into network marketing, Ken. And I remember thinking I have to stop working at the retail store because I'm working 9 to 5 or 9 to 9. And I saw a blind ad in the newspaper for Smith Corona looking for a copier sales rep. And I go, oh my God, I'm in retail sales. So I went and interviewed, and great guy, Jack Keeley. He told me that there was probably other more qualified people for the job because I didn't have any sales experience, and they did. And I said to him, well, that's a shame. That's a shame that I don't qualify because, and at that point I took out my goals out of my wallet, and then I said, Mr. Keeley, I have 42 things that I want to accomplish, and I was hoping that Smith Corona was going to be that vehicle, because if it was going to be that vehicle, I was going to make us both a lot of money. And he goes, whoa, hang on. He goes, hang on. He says, I'm going to bring my boss in, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Why should we hire you? Put your goals back in your wallet, bring them back out, and say exactly the same thing. And I did. They hired me on the spot. I became their sales rep of the month the next 10 out of 12 months. The only month I didn't make it was the first month and the last month when I left.
Wow.
And that's how I got into sales.
And what year was this?
Oh, this is back in 1972, 73, 74.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a buddy of mine that he just moved to Phoenix, over to the Chandler area. His dad is the founder of Little Giant Ladders. Hal Wing. That's Doug, his son.
Was he on QVC?
Oh yeah, they've been everywhere, man.
I've been on QVC,
Oh, have you really?
Yeah, 25 times I've sold a product on QVC.
Wow. Well, Little Giant's the third largest ladder company in the world now.
Well, I'm the largest company in the world for the product that we market.
Really?
Yeah. You want to see it?
Yes. Of course.
Yeah. It's in this little white box. And this is a product. You're going to love this. We call this the Mouse Bungie. And it's a little device that sits on your desk, and its sole purpose, let me show you.
Hold on, I'm going to give you full screen for this.
Okay. Its sole purpose is to hold a cord of a mouse so that when you use the mouse, the cord doesn't get hung up on your desk.
Oh, would you look at that?
Now, I'm a firm believer that I'm a big Jay Abraham fan, which I can share with you in a second.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went on QVC. And by the way, they only take 3 products out of every 100 that are submitted. Only 3 actually end up on the show.
Yeah.
And we went on the show. I'll never forget it. I go down there Thursday because you have to go through training because some things you can't say on TV and you have to go through that. And, and then and they said, well, you're going to go on air Saturday at 1:30. And because this is Friday night and I'm done with my training. And I go, well, I'll be here bright and early tomorrow morning because I can't wait to, I want to just get everything, I want to hear all the other vendors that are coming in. And the guy, my agent, said, well, don't get here too early. And I go, well, I'll be here like 8 o'clock, 8:39. And he goes, no, that's too early. And I go, too early? He says, you do know you're going at 1:30 in the morning, not 1:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know we were going at 1:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. But which is a great time because, a lot of computer geeks are, from California and, they're up at that time. So the guy before me sold $8,000 worth of toner cartridges. And I'm going, my God, we haven't sold 8,000 in a year. and they put us on in 8 minutes. We did $56,000.
Oh my
And we
God.
were the highlight of the show. I've been back on. One time we did. One day I was there. They did $80 million in sales, and we were a little over. We were $256,000 of that. So
His dad sold 25,000 ladders in 24 hours the first time he was on QVC.
yeah, that's yeah.
That's
I wish this was the price of a ladder. This was $9.95.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing, man. So you got into sales. What was, and it was selling copiers?
Yeah, I started when I
sale.
I loved it. I mean, you think about the copier
Cold
business.
calls, right? Knocking on doors.
Oh yeah, up and down the streets. Yeah, up and down the streets.
Lord have mercy. That's how you cut your teeth right there.
Oh, and it's interesting. I had the confidence from the network marketing aspect of it. I had the competitiveness, and I started a company with $500, and we built it to $17 million before I sold it. My goal was to retire before I was 50, and I sold it 1 month prior to my 50th birthday to a company called Icon Office Solutions.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, big company, and it's a great business because you sold the copier, you sold the, you sold the equipment, you sold the service, the supplies, and I'm a big fan of a guy named Jay Abraham.
Yep.
Who's kind of a marketing guru.
Yep. Yep.
And his philosophy in his book is, if you can look at other successful industries and what might be as common as dirt in their industry, when applied to your industry, could have the effect of an atomic bomb going off. And I always remembered that. And I took my salespeople to a trip once, and we went to a place called the Sandals Resort.
Yep.
It's like an all-inclusive type of resort where once you get there, you just put your wallet in the safe and, everything's free. And I'm going, what an interesting concept. So I came back home and I started a program where I would give the customer the copier. And all I would do is, the end of the month, I would read the meter, how many clicks that they made or how many copies they made. And I charged them like a nickel a copy. And that included the service, the supplies, the paper, everything. And we skyrocketed. I mean, it took our competitors a couple years before they caught on what we were doing. But I locked up that business, and I took the concept from sandals. So just like this little product right here, the concept came from, and maybe you remember these, Ken, not all of you. Remember the irons that your mom used to have that used to have the spring on it?
Yep. Yep.
That's where this concept came from.
Oh my gosh. Was that your idea?
I cannot lie to you. No.
Wow.
But I met the inventor of the product. I take credit for it all the time, so he'd be laughing if I was actually telling the truth now. But we started a company. We called it the Mouse Bungie Company, and my title on my business card is the Big Cheese. So and the controller was Office Boy. I mean, we had fun. We sold these things all through QVC, and we sold them in the ASI market, which is the ad specialty industry, where you can actually put logos on them, which is what we do here. And,
so somebody's saying, what does that doodad do?
It holds
again.
Yeah, it holds the cord of a mouse so that when you use the mouse, the cord doesn't get hung up on your desk. And I'll show it again. So if you just have it here and you move the mouse, okay?
They give you full screen.
That's right. It gives you as you move the mouse, it just gives with you. Now the biggest market we had was the gaming industry, because these kids that get on games and they have to use their mouse to they call it fragging or get frags. The top gamers in the world use that product. And we eventually sold the company to a company called Razer, which is the #1 gaming company in the world.
Okay.
So, but that was a fun ordeal, going on QVC, going to the ASI shows, and that was a fun experience. And I enjoyed that very much.
But back up to the copier thing again, because I cut my teeth in sales, knocking on doors residentially, and then got into business to business. But I've said I didn't go to college. I truly believe that everybody should go knock on doors for a couple of years before they decide what they're going to do with their life.
Yeah. But I tell you what, there's nothing harder than knocking on a door or walking into an office, especially medical offices where everybody looks up at you and you're there selling copiers. And it's, I just outworked people. I wasn't as smart as they were, but I outworked everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. So where'd you go from the copier company? Where'd you go from there?
Well, I sold the company when I was 49.
Oh, you owned the company?
Yeah, I owned it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I started with $500 and built it to 17 million. And when I sold it, I really missed the people. I really missed the customers. Yeah. I didn't miss all the headaches that come with owning your own business.
Yeah.
But I moved to Arizona. Okay. I stayed on 5 years as a consultant for Icon.
And this was in Maine. All of this was in Maine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I stayed on for 5 years as a consultant, which one person recently told me that the definition of a consultant is a guy between jobs. And I stayed there for 5 years because they were renting my building, and I wanted to make sure that they stayed in my building. But once that was up, I moved to Arizona. And when I got out here, I realized I didn't play golf well enough that I even wanted to play every day. Right. So I was looking to start another business. And I always remember growing my copier business. I could never find the right message or greeting card to send to my clients. I mean, I could go to Staples and find a card that said, thanks or something like that, or thanks for your referral. But I wanted more than that. So I teamed up with a graphic artist, and we created greeting cards for, I don't know where they went, but, here it is. Hang on. We created a line of greeting cards for two niche markets. One was for pets, and you're about to hear my dog come through the door looking for a treat, so I apologize in advance. And one was for salespeople. And what would happen is PetSmart is located out here in Arizona, so I made a sales call on PetSmart, and they loved our cards. I mean, they fell in love with it. Within 90 days, I was in over 700 stores.
Oh, my God.
And they actually took out Hallmark in a lot of these stores.
Wow.
So I was in 700 stores. And then I created a line of greeting cards just for salespeople. And I got very fortunate. People like Zig Ziglar got a hold of them and loved them. Tommy Hopkins, Brian Tracy, Harvey McKay. And Jay Abraham always talks about having unique selling proposition to market your product. Yeah. And our greeting cards were so unique that when people looked at them, they go, "Oh my God, these are great. Would you like to see one?"
Yeah, I'd love to see one.
All right. Here's an example of one. Okay. I don't know if you can see. It says, Babe Ruth struck out more times than he hit home runs.
Yeah.
And when you open it up, it says, although we didn't do business this time. And can you see the little envelope that's?
Yep, I see it. Yep. Move it the other way. There you go. Look at that.
So you pull out the punchline out of the little envelope. And of course, this punchline says, because Babe Ruth struck out more times than he hit home runs, although we didn't do business this time, we're looking forward to our next at bat. Isn't that a great card?
That is an amazing card.
Here's one more I'll show you. A toast to the best darn client in the world. I don't know how I can make that better. There we go. And when you open this up, it says, you're smart, charming, witty, wise, and if I might say so, quite special. When you pull out the punchline, it says, in fact, we're so much alike, it's scary. So I created all these different types of cards. And of course, they were unlike anything anybody had ever seen. So, and by the way, when you pull that little envelope concept, got the idea from the Cracker Jack box. You know, when you go to the Cracker Jacks, you pull out a prize.
Yep.
Well, that's where we came up with the concept of the little envelope pulling out the prize, which is the same. So that's how that came about. And
wow.
So I started a greeting card company, and I mean, that was a hassle. I mean, you ever tried to service 700 stores nationally? I mean, you got your cards in all these little racks, and of course, people handle them, and you know they get dog-eared, and you have to replace them. That was quite an ordeal, but it was fun to work with people like with Zig Ziglar and Tom Ziglar, and Harvey McKay and his group, and especially Tom Hopkins. He was tremendous to us. He would bring us up on stage and we'd show the audience our cards, and
Tom Ziegler is a good friend of mine, and all of Zig's kids, Julie and Cindy, are too. I talked to Julie the day before yesterday.
I never met her. I met Tom a few times.
Yeah, good people, man. They're just good people. So wow. So how long did you have the greeting card company?
Well, it was interesting, probably for a few years. At one point, both my kids worked for me, and they realized how hard it was to sell and make a living selling greeting cards. Yeah. What was really interesting, Ken, is the only Christmas gift I've ever asked my kids for Christmas was their goals in writing. And they've done that since the 8th grade. Wow. And I still use the same form myself. We pick 4 areas that you want to be, that we want to set goals in. And I remember back in those days, we picked academics, sports, family, that type of thing. Yeah. And I was sitting at my desk and I was going through some old file folders, and I came across one of Jeff's, goal setting forms. And on the form, he said, I wanted to, one of his action plans, I wanted to pray more often. And I go, wow, that's interesting. I don't really, I believe in God, but I really, I don't pray. I ask for the safety of my kids and my wife and, and my dog and stuff like that. But I never have really prayed for, anything business wise.
Right.
And I remember going to bed that night and looking out, and I'm laying there and I can't get to sleep. And we're struggling with the greeting card company, even though we had some big name clients and all that. We were struggling with that type of business. And I said to him, I said, God, show me that, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Because I have a lot of options, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And I said, can you do me a favor? I said, I can look out through the window and with the moonlight, I can see the sky. I said, make a falling star happen so I know that you're listening to me. Well, that didn't happen. And I said, well, have a bird or something fly down into the water feature. That didn't happen either. But I fell asleep and I woke up at 4:10 in the morning with this. As vivid as I'm talking to you right now, I had a sign that said, send out the cards. And I go, wow, God wants me to send out the cards for my clients. So the next day I went to my best client that had bought a bunch of cards from me that was still sitting in the box. And I said, I have a program where I'm going to send the cards out on your behalf. And I go, I'll do 5 cards for $29.95. You can pick the 5 cards you want out of my 144. And that's how I got into that aspect of the greeting card business, sending cards out for my clients, which I still do today.
Wow.
So that's how I met with a guy that was promoting Jim Rohn. And I'm trying to think of his name. I thought his name was Jerry something. He lived down in Tucson. And my son Jeff was meeting with him because Jim Rohn was coming to town to do an event. And Jeff said, he said, I'd like to meet with this guy because he was a big Jim Rohn fan. And I'm sitting there talking to the guy, and he says, Jim, what do you do? And I said, well, I have a greeting card company. And he goes, oh, one of my best friends is a top rep in another greeting card company. And I go, what's his name? He says, Jordan Adler. And I go, oh, interesting. I go, can you give me his number? I'd like to call him. Maybe I can get him to market my cards.
Yeah.
And the last thing he said to me, be careful because he'll try to recruit you. And I'm thinking, what do you mean recruit me? I'm going to recruit him. And obviously he was the top rep in a greeting card company, and we became friends. I joined that company, became distributor of the year and runner up and all that stuff. And I look back now and I go, God has guided me along the way. I can tell you 4 or 5 incidents where I know he's present in my life, and I know he's not done with me yet. So
right.
Yeah.
There's no way he'd be done with you if you're on this show. So wow, man. So you, when did you sell the company, the copier company? What year was that? What would that?
Gosh, I think Well, I was 49 when I sold it. I was born in 48, so
I can't do math that
yeah, I
well.
can't either. Probably 1999, somewhere in that.
99-ish. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So, so you retired before you were 50.
Yeah.
And obviously if you sold it for 17 million, I'm assuming you kept some of that money.
Yeah.
So
Lost a lot of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But and then along the way, what do you think? Because I know a lot of people in network marketing. I mean a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that at some point most people have tried network marketing and or they've tried being an entrepreneur, and they just haven't made it.
Yeah.
What do you think holds most people back from success financially, and they're not necessarily related, but freedom, joy in life?
Yeah. It was interesting when we were building our network marketing business. We had a pretty decent sized team, about 15, 16,000 people. And my son, Jeff, hired this speaker to come talk to our group. And I didn't know who the speaker was. But I went to support, obviously I kind of, it was down in Tucson, and Sherry and I drove down. We put our dog in the car, and I kind of stuck in the back row because I had the dog and I couldn't leave the dog in the car in Tucson weather. So we're sitting there, and this guy is doing his little, Jeff introduced him as Joe Malarkey, America's worst motivational speaker. And I'm thinking, and I got watching it, and I go, my God, this guy is good. I mean, where did Jeff find him? And little did I know that his real name was George Campbell. He's now my business partner in another venture. And little did I know that George was a stand-up comic for 10 years with Jerry Seinfeld and that whole group of comics that came up together. Wow. He'd been on 60 Minutes. He'd been on To Tell the Truth. He did that Joe Malarkey, America's Worst Motivational Speaker, for 20 years, and it landed him in the Hall of Fame, which is less than 2% of all speakers are in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And I remember going up to George afterwards and asking, telling him, I said, hey, listen, I'd love to work with you in the future. Maybe we can become partners. I could be like Ed McMahon and you could be like Johnny Carson. And,
right.
And he was doing fine on his own. He didn't need me, but we kept in touch for 10 years. And about 3.5 years ago, I saw that he was headlining at the National Speakers Association meeting in Phoenix. So I went down and to listen to him, and he sees me in the audience, and he says, we need to talk. And he says, I'm putting together a program that's going to be bigger than Malarkey ever was. And he says, Jim, you would be the perfect partner. So we started a company called the Consistency Chain. And for years and years and years, George was in different network marketing companies, but failed miserably. And he always wondered why he could be successful in one area of his life, but not in others. And he really took it to a whole different level with the research. And now we have a company called the Consistency Chain.
Yeah.
We just wrote a book called The Consistency Chain for Network Marketing. And what really, for years and years and years as a leader of a couple of different network marketing companies, I always struggle with why don't people just do what I've done to be successful? Little did I know that they're literally wired differently. They don't think the same way. So we actually have a program, in the network marketing arena. We're lucky if 5% of the people are successful in it, and 95% struggle. And it has nothing to do with lack of focus or commitment or their why or anything else. It's just that they need a different strategy. And based on the results that we've had in the last couple of years, we're really helping a lot of people, Ken, with our program. So.
And in the program, obviously, it's more than a book.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We have an app that was an accountability app. We don't offer a coaching program, and we're not into that. We bill ourselves as the perfect companion piece to anybody's training program. And we recently been on a few pretty high profile shows like yourself, like yours, and get tremendous results from it.
So do you have a copy of the book?
Yeah.
Show everybody the book. The Consistency Chain for Network Marketing. There you go. And just so you're a very humble and somewhat reserved on here, but I people need to know that you are like, you've killed it in network marketing. Like, you literally have killed it.
Yeah, I've been just runner-up distributor of the year twice, distributor of the year twice in 2 different companies. But my proudest claim to fame, all right, is that the very first 2 people I ever sponsored in my last network marketing company that I was really working on were my 2 sons. I mean, number 1 and number 2. And they both went on to become runner-up and distributor of the year. So I'm really proud of that, and get to work with them for 10 years. That was probably the best part of my network marketing career. So,
and they've done very, very well.
Yeah, they've done pretty good. Yeah, they've done pretty good. And somebody, but it always concerned me why couldn't people just do what we were doing? But we're always trying to put a round peg in a square hole. Now, when George and I speak at audience, like George says it, I speak to the first 3 rows of the audience. He speaks to everybody in the back of the room, which is 80% of the people.
What do you think? I'm friends with Ray Higdon, and Ray tells a story about I forget the exact, I'm going to butcher the story, but basically there was a network marketing meeting that everybody was invited to, and they had this speaker that was polished, and this guy was just amazing, and something happened where this polished guy, the last one he spoke at, they signed up like 5% of the people in the room, and at the last minute he had to cancel. So they brought this woman up that was real homely, and she spoke like this, and at the end, and she said, and last month I made $25,000, and like everybody in the room signed up because they were like, if this woman can do it, I can definitely do it, So what do you think what is the big difference? I mean, because I know people like you and a lot of other people that have just killed it in network marketing, which I think has a really bad stigma because of a handful of bad players in the industry. But what's the difference? What's the big difference?
I think the ability to delay gratification. Most people, when there was a contest, whether it was for selling greeting cards or being a newspaper carrier or winning a trip to Bermuda, is I have the ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel and do the work required to get there. But 80%, it's the Pareto principle, 80% of the people don't have the ability, don't have the delayed gratification. So rather than fight that, we found a strategy to complement and give them daily gratification. And as a result, I mean, we're having tremendous results with different teams across the country and different companies because we have a strategy to allow those people to get daily gratification and feel good about it. And it's
wow,
they're wired differently. They think out of a different section of their brain. So,
what's your website if people want to check out what you're talking about?
theconsistencychain.com.
theconsistencychain.com.
Yep.
Hopefully I spelled that right.
Yeah, well, we actually have the domain no matter which way you spell it.
Oh, good.
So we look back at it now and said we probably should have done something differently.
I've told this story many times. There was a point. it was many years ago. My wife and I opened up our very first brick and mortar office. We had been working out of that home, out of our home, and said, okay, let's open an office and hire some employees, which we did, and started growing. But as you know, when you have employees, I mean, things get real, like really real, because you're like responsible for them and their families, and you feel that responsibility. And so the biggest dude that worked for me, huge guy, walks in my office one day. He says, hey, there's a guy looking in the windows of your SUV out in the parking lot. And I'm like, dude, you're like twice my size. Go tell him to get the heck out of here. Why are you telling me? And he's like, well, I was going to, but he has it blocked with his tow truck. Oh, that's not good.
No.
And so I don't know if you've ever tried to talk a repo man out of taking your car in front of all your employees, but that was a terrible day, man.
Let me tell you.
I remember feeling like this is the end of my life. Like, what's the point of even going on? This is the most humiliating day of my life. Life is over. This sucks. I don't think I can get through this. And I think, 2020 reset a lot of people. It set a lot of people back. And honestly, the suicide rate it's gone through the roof because of all the insanity. If somebody called you and said, Jim, I'm at the end of my rope. I have tried everything I know to do. I can't figure it out. My electric's being shut off. My car was repoed. What would you say to them in that moment to help them get through?
It was interesting. You talk about the challenge you had when we were growing our copier business. At one point, we had a 34-to-1 debt to equity ratio. All right. Now think about it. All right. I went to a good friend of mine that owned another copier company to get him to buy it, and he couldn't absorb the debt. And so I went to our biggest competitor in our state and saying, hey, can you take us over? We'll come to work for you. And he looked at me and he said, why would I buy you when I'm going to get you for free within a few weeks?
Oh, wow.
So we gained great momentum from that. And we turned our business around in 60 days as a result.
Wow.
And I think you just have to look. One of the best things I ever did was write out my dream day, what I wanted to my business to, what I wanted to be, once I sold the business. And I mean, I had myself pictured living in Arizona, owning a golf cart, driving down to the golf course, playing golf, coming back. I'm sitting around the pool with a lemonade. I mean, I had that visualized in my mind. I mean, I wrote it on paper, which was tremendous. Yeah. And that's what got me through, was just visualizing the why I'm working. I mean, the how is easy. It's the why is the tough part. So it's just, remember the reasons why you're living. And it's so easy to look around and see people that are less fortunate and all, physically and what have you, and go, I don't have any problem. Just go to work, So it's all, I think it's
go to work. Just go to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it really
action conquers fear, right? Every time. So.
Wow.
I will never forget, Ken, one day, it was a Friday afternoon. It was snowing. I was in Farmington, Maine, an hour and 15 minutes away from home. Yeah. I called my office in Portland to tell them, hey, feel free to go home because the blizzard is coming and blah, 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 and it's bad. There was nobody in the office. Everybody had already left. I was the only person out there working, all right? And I never forget that day. And I just looked at my goals and going where I want to be, and it was just so motivating for me. So,
how did it feel the day that you sold your company for $17 million?
It was awesome. And I tell you, it was when you go through the due diligence and all that stuff and the recasting, yeah. We actually signed. I took 36 people. I had a trip planned for 36 people to the Bahamas the day we sold the company.
Wow.
And we were supposed to sell the company 2 days earlier. My wife was at the airport with all the other employees, and I still hadn't signed the paperwork. And it was like a plane leaves at 1 o'clock. This was like 9:30 in the morning.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had to get one more thing done, one more thing done, one more thing done. And we finally, they signed off on it, right? It had to do with leases that we had on equipment.
Yeah.
And we signed off. I got to the airport. We jumped on the plane, and I remember sitting in the pool. It was a you could swim up to the bar. And I remember sitting there going, my God, it's over with. What am I going to do next? All right. This part of my life is over with. It's like when your kids go off to college. And you ask, oh my God, that part of my life is over. And then I realized that, that God had more planned for me. So, and here I am. So, and I can't wait to get up in the morning, Ken. I hate to go to bed at night. I mean, I've just absolutely been a blessed person. I mean, Sherry's been high school sweetheart, been married 50 plus years.
That's amazing, Jim.
Kids have the head on straight, and I always I have a saying, I live in the place that I belong, with the people that I love, doing the right work on purpose. And I know that the right work on purpose is sending our message of the consistency chain to that 95% of the people that struggle, especially in the network marketing business.
That's amazing. Where's the best place for everybody to follow you on social media?
Well, I have a LinkedIn account. I've only had it for a couple years. Adam set me up with it, but I love LinkedIn. I mean, what's that?
You're on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, but I don't post very often on Facebook. In fact, most of the stuff I post, Sherry has posted under my name, but but LinkedIn is probably the best way.
Yeah. Well, I think we're friends on Facebook, aren't we? I'm pretty sure.
I think so. I can't imagine.
I'm going to tag you on this.
Okay.
So it'll be on your page. So, Jim, any final words of wisdom that you would share with anyone that may be watching that's struggling with life right now, or financially, or any final words of wisdom?
I love the saying that persistence will get you to your goal, but consistency will keep you there. Just gotta be consistent in your actions. I know that's kind of a plug, but I really believe it.
It's not. And plug away. I like what Grant Cardone says. If you're not willing to promote yourself, how in the heck how do you expect others to promote you? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's awesome. Well, Jim Packard, thank you for such an amazing time spent with you. Your wisdom runs deep, and I'm very, very grateful for you investing the time today.
I was honored that you asked me to be on your show, and look forward to maybe coming back again with my partner George, who is.
Well, I'd love to do a show with both of you, and even get you on an Amazon Live too to sell your book and stuff. So, Jim, thank you so much. Stay with me. I'm going to end the live stream, but thank you so much for being on here today. And I look forward to doing some more stuff together.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watched and shared this out. If you did not share it out, there's still time to redeem yourself, and you can share this out now. So thank you for watching. Appreciate all of you. Have a great day. Jim, thanks again.
Thank you.